Hey everybody, so I want to do this video so if you haven't watched my first video called Intergenerational Trauma, I really suggest that you watch that video before this one. I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference, but because in this video, I really wanted to go into kind of the other end of the spectrum when it comes to intergenerational trauma. Because in the first video, I sort of talk more about passing on the trauma or telling your children, their problems aren't problems and so on and so forth. So that is basically the one end of it. When you come from a traumatic upbringing or traumatic childhood and things like that. So I want to talk about this is going to piss off so many people and so many people are going to get upset. But that's the whole point of me doing these videos, to talk about things that other people don't talk about, or it's really uncomfortable to talk about it, or things that people don't even realize is happening. So the other end of the spectrum, I guess you could say, is spoiling and sheltering your children because of your own trauma and your own things that you've gone through, right? So on one end, you have people who are passing on the trauma or telling their children, don't communicate, don't talk about it. Your life isn't that hard, whatever. That's on that end of it, right? So on this end, I want to talk about people who shelter their children or kind of make them live in fear because of their own fear from their own upbringing, and then spoiling their children. And if it makes you mad what I talk about, like if it triggers you in some way, don't get all defensive and lash out at me. Figure out what it is that's making you mad. Why are you getting defensive? Is it because it's true? Is it because you are doing that, raising your children, or it's been done to you? Like, there are reasons that people get defensive. There are reasons that people, that's why I don't really announce trigger warnings, because I want people to know what their triggers are, to get to the bottom of it. Why do you have them? What can you do to get through them? So first, with sheltering your child, because I know a lot of people who have had very traumatic childhoods and upbringings where when you have your own children, the last thing you want is for them to hurt or for them to go through what you've gone through. And I know people who won't let their children go play on a sports team because they might get bullied, or they might have an uncomfortable interaction with a coach, like whatever the case, whatever their reasons are. Or they don't want their child to go to an interracial school because they might get bullied. Now, bullying is going to happen no matter what you do, okay? And that's just, unfortunately, that's just the shitty age that we live in. Like, we see cyberbullying all the time, and people who are literally the keyboard warriors who are telling people you should probably just die because of the decision you just made, and just hardcore things like that. Now, when you shelter a child because you're so fearful, or you live in fear so badly that you don't let them grow, you don't let them like expand and build their own muscles. I am huge on the muscles if you haven't watched my other videos, because spoiling and sheltering your child can harm them just as badly as abuse and trauma, like passing on your own trauma to your child. Because how is your child ever supposed to go through the world and the things that they're going to encounter if you don't let them build their own muscles? Okay? Life muscles. I'm huge on talking about life muscles, because how is your kid ever going to know that they can get back up on their own if you don't let them? Or if you don't let them fall in the first place? So like, sheltering them so badly that they don't have a chance to see what they're capable of. They don't have a chance to build those muscles, to feel that accomplishment, to feel the sense of pride. Those things are getting taken away from your child because of your own fear. because of your own limits. Like you're taking away the optimism, I guess, and just telling them the world is bad, like white people are bad, if that's how you feel, or like men are bad because you've been abused by a man, or your dad wasn't, their dad wasn't there, and all these different things. Okay. You're already taking away the optimism for them. Like you're taking away the life lessons for them. And I've seen it happen so often because of fear. Now, both of my parents were, they were raised in very traumatizing situations, but never ever did they ever project it onto me. They never, like, I was a very fearless child. I was a very outgoing, like, I did not know stranger danger. I would go up to anybody and say, hi, my name's Fawn, like, hi, like, to everybody. And it's interesting because I see parents who they didn't want, I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but they don't want to shelter me because of what they've gone through. Yes, there's always fear, obviously, they're parents, but they never ever told me that a certain race was bad, or, you got to be careful of men because of this. You have to, all like projecting their trauma onto me, because I see parents do that where their child has not been given the chance to build their own muscles, and then they go through something that's really hard and they have no clue how to deal with it. They have no idea the strength that is in them to deal with it because they weren't allowed to develop it. They weren't allowed to pick themselves back up. You know what I'm saying? So it is very tricky, I guess, because of course you want your child to experience life the way you didn't get to experience, but you also, like, you don't want anything bad to happen to them, especially if you've experienced or have seen the worst things that you can think of to happen to somebody. And it's kind of unfortunate, I guess, to, like, know that you're taking away their opportunity to have the life lessons that they need, to build the muscles that they're going to need, to have that self-reliance that they know they can get through it. They know that they're strong enough and it's okay. Don't worry, I can get through it because I have the muscles. And I understand, like, every parent's going to worry regardless, but there's a big difference between, like, a parent having fear that their child's going to be hurt, or that their child's going to experience heartbreak or friend fights and all these things. But when you start limiting, I guess, their experiences, you're crippling them. Like, your fear is going to cripple them, like not letting them experience life for themselves, develop all these things they're going to develop on the way. And the same, it sort of a little bit goes into spoiling your child as well, because especially with the generation before us and so on, you really obviously want your child to have everything you didn't have. Okay, now that's like every parent for the most part wants that. They want their child to experience things they've never experienced, or, have the things that they never got to have. Now, I always say that there's a very big difference between privileged and spoiled, because spoiling a child also can cripple them just as much as trauma, just as badly as the other end of the spectrum, right? Now, spoiling and privilege, I feel, look at them very different, because spoiling a child can, like, you give and give and give and give and give, and they haven't earned any of it. And I feel like this day and age, like our generation who's raising their children especially, or the, X gen, whatever you want to call them, people who are coming up now, that the hard work and, I guess, discipline and things like that are really getting lost in the day and age that we're in. And these children, like, they can have iPhone, the best iPhone out there, and like expensive makeup and all these things that we didn't really have when we were kids. Phones were not a, oh God, I'm aging myself so bad. Phones weren't a thing when I was a kid. And it's just so, it breaks my heart when I see that happen, because when you spoil a child, and so let's say you buy them the best iPhone that you can get for them, or you buy them a pony, or you buy them a car, or you buy them, you know, ridiculously expensive things, and they don't make their bed, or they don't do chores, or they talk to you like they're crazy. That is spoiling a child, and that is crippling them just as badly as abuse can. Because when they start going into the real world, because that's what you're doing, you're raising a little human to a big human to go into the world and be successful, be happy, be strong, and all these things. And they then go into the world thinking that everything is getting handed to them. I don't know about you all, but that is not my life. That has not been my experience in this world. And they also don't get any sense of accomplishment, of pride. Those are huge things that every human being needs to feel. So, I mean, if they're not doing chores, they're not helping you around the house, or they're talking to you disrespectful, I can't stand that either. Why are they getting a car? Why do they have an iPad? Why do they have the newest phone? Why are they getting their hair done? Why are they getting their nails done? And all these different things that, like, these kids get to do now. And that is the difference between spoiling. Because, listen, I had a very privileged, I was lucky, and I got to travel. I got, you know, like, I got to do these things, but never, ever was I ever raised to think that that came for free. Never. I was privileged in a lot of ways, but I was not spoiled. And I had to do chores. I had to work for the things that I wanted. That was like, that's kind of, I don't know, what you should be taught, I guess. And I don't want to pick on grandparents, but grandmas, they are known for this. My mom gets lectures on lectures on lectures about the way my children will be parented or grandparented. I don't even have kids yet, and she's getting lectures, because I will not, like, she goes, oh, I know I would never do that. I'm like, yeah, but parenting and grandparenting is very different. You know, and you see your parent talking to a kid, like your kid's in a voice you've never heard, like the grandma voice that's like, oh, my dear, like, don't worry, and all these things. Now, of course, grandparents spoiling, that's a thing. Like, oh, we get to have cookies when we go to grandma's house, that kind of stuff. But then there comes, because a lot of times, like, grandparents, they will, it's almost like a second chance to give that child everything they didn't get to give their own child, because they were really young, they were really lost, or, you know, whatever their feelings are about the way they raised their kid, that the grandchild, and they're also probably more financially stable than they were when they were raising kids. Now, they're like, obviously I'm not going to mind if my mom does the fun grandma stuff. Of course not. But she is very aware that they're my children and that they will be raised the way I want them to be raised, because there are things that I will do differently than my mom did. And that's the whole point. Like, you're supposed to learn from it, supposed to get better at it. I'm not saying my mom was a shitty parent. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there are things that she wouldn't want me to do that she did, because she was young. She was new to parenting, like, all these things. And I just want to talk about the other end of this, because you can ruin a child just as quickly. And I say ruin a child as in, like, no muscles, like, they're lost, they're stuck at home till they're 40. They don't know how to keep a job because, like, they don't have structure, they don't have discipline. Okay? You can cripple is a better word. You can cripple a child just as quickly, spoiling them and sheltering them, than you, like, just as fast as you can if you abuse them. And Like, I don't have to have a kid to know this. This is human behavior. This is human psychology that like you see these things happen all the time. And especially with parents who are busy all the time, that they can't give time, so they give money or they give stuff because they can't give the time. That as well is another reason that parents, like, they feel bad that they can't be there because they're working all the time to support their families, or they can't be at the soccer games, or they can't give the time that they like wish they could give, so they give money and stuff instead. Now, I don't want to, like, this is never ever an attack on parents. This is never like you are doing whatever wrong, whatever. But it's pretty obvious that, like, spoiling somebody and sheltering somebody doesn't allow them to grow. And my favorite way of looking at this, you never ever see a mama bird tell her baby not to jump. Like, you never ever see them keep them in the nest forever because they're scared they won't be able to fly, right? Like, you ever see those mama birds that just basically boot them out of the nest and, like, they fly? Like, trust your wings. Like, that is my favorite way of looking at it. Let them live, let them learn, let them experience different people, different cultures, different life experiences, because that's what it's about. That is how you get strong. That is how you get smart. That is how you learn love in so many different ways. Like, there's, like, discipline needs to happen to help them in their life. And I really just wanted to kind of make a video about that, because I hope that people don't take it personal, or, like, if you're going to get mad about it, I mean, why are you getting mad? Take a look at that first. Why, if it upsets you, why? Because I care about children being raised strong, being raised brave, not that a white person is mean, or that a little kid that looks different than you is going to be mean. Yeah, it happens, but you can't tell your child, like, stay around your own race, your own whatever, because everybody out there is bad, because everybody out there is not nice. Like, that can cripple somebody so quickly and so badly that you end up with your kid at home with you till you're 60. And if you're okay with that, like, that's, yeah, you're just being selfish. And if that makes you mad, I'm okay with that, because your goal should be to raise strong, independent human beings that can spread their wings and experience life, not stay in the nest till they're like 60. Okay? So tag anyone who needs to see it, share the message to somebody who might need to hear it, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye.